Ask anyone where home computing started, and they'll usually point to California in 1975, the Homebrew Computer Club, the Altair 8800. But in 1973, that machine was still 2 years away. At the time, if you wanted to interact with a computer, you were dealing with massive mainframes locked inside corporate offices or university labs. The first microprocessors did exist, but they were largely out of reach for everyday hobbyists. To put it in perspective, a single Intel 8008 chip cost nearly 100 pounds. In 1973, for an amateur builder, that was a massive financial wall. Michael Lord, an engineer in Basildon, decided to bypass that wall entirely. Underneath the stairs in his home, he began building a computer from scratch. While working in that cramped space, Lord realized he wasn't acting alone. Scattered across Britain, inside garden sheds and spare rooms, isolated hardware enthusiasts were trying to solve the exact same technical problems. Rather than wait for commercial chips to drop in price, he organized these isolated builders. He launched the Amateur Computer Club newsletter to create an analog network, allowing members to share their blueprints and crowdsource their hardware. To participate in this club, Lord set a strict editorial rule. Members had to share their complete block schematics, mapping out their designs down to the individual hardware registers. Here in the first issue is the ULO FOD 10, a complete 10-bit computer built without a central microprocessor. Its instruction set uses basic TTL logic for operations like load, store, and add, mimicking a university-grade machine on a tight budget. Once the logic was mapped out, these builders faced their next major hurdle. You couldn't just go to a store and buy a stick of RAM for your data. In the second issue, an article titled Cores for Stores outlines a popular solution. By passing current through a tiny circular piece of magnetic material compared to a polo mint, a builder could store a single binary 1 or 0. In practice, this meant sitting at a workbench, physically threading thin copper wire through hundreds of tiny ferrite rings to create a magnetic memory lattice. These club members were not assembling pre-packaged commercial kits. Because the industry did not yet cater to them, they had to fabricate the raw physical architecture of computing from basic electronic materials. That physical architecture required a way to actually see the data being processed. Modern flat screens and computer monitors didn't exist yet. To get around this, many members acquired heavy, repurposed mechanical teletypes, printing their code directly on long strips of punched paper tape. More advanced engineers, including Mike Lord, took a different approach. They hijacked analog testing equipment, wiring up oscilloscopes, and forcing the glowing lines on the screen to display their digital outputs. By utilizing cheap surplus parts and combining their collective intelligence, ACC members successfully bypassed expensive corporate technology to build highly capable mini-computers in their own homes. Looking at this directory from early 1974, we can see how quickly the club expanded. Within a year, nearly 300 members were organizing regional meetings across the UK and internationally. As the network grew, they collaborated on ultra-cheap community designs. In Edsbit, Mike Lord proposes the Weenie Bitter, an inexpensive stored program computer. In the cost breakdown, we see the goal, demonstrating hardware principles for £15, effectively shattering the financial barrier for new learners. Michael Lord didn't invent a famous commercial product like Steve Jobs or Steve Wozniak. Instead, he built the essential social infrastructure that allowed a home computing movement to exist in the first place. The practice of openly publishing complete hardware schematics in a printed newsletter is the direct ancestor to the massive, decentralized tech ecosystems we see today with Linux, Arduino, and the Raspberry Pi. The Amateur Computer Club proved that if the machine you need is locked away in a lab or costs too much, you don't have to wait for permission. You build it yourself, and then you share the blueprint with everyone else.